All right, what's up, guys? How we doing? So today I want to talk about a movie that came out in 2018 called Revenge. Never take your mistress on an annual guys' getaway, especially one devoted to hunting, a violent lesson for three wealthy married men. And this movie is written and directed by Coralie Fargeat, starring Matilda Lutz and Kevin Janssens. Now, after watching The Substance a couple months ago and realizing that I've never really heard of this director before, and immediately had to go look up, her other films that she's done, and Substance was the second movie she ever did, so Revenge, this movie right here, is her directorial debut, and it was a no-brainer. I immediately had to watch it. And I am very glad I did. This movie is an absolute hidden gem. I'm not exactly sure how much of a theatrical release this movie had back in 2018. I would assume it was very, very limited because I've never heard of this movie if it wasn't for Substance. So basically we have our main character named Jen, played by Matilda Lutz, who tags along with a very wealthy married man a day early to this remote house in this desert canyon where him and his two other friends take an annual hunting trip there. She's there a day early with him on purpose. He doesn't want anyone to know. Obviously, it's his mistress. He doesn't want anything to find out, anyone, even his friends. But his friends end up showing a day early as well. So Richard goes to town to get something. He leaves Jen and his two friends there alone. And something very, very relative and relevant to what was going on in 2018 happens. So she tries to escape. She runs away. They don't want to get caught. They try to murder her. She ends up surviving, and this is when she starts to get her revenge. Now, I think Matilda Lutz is absolutely amazing in this movie. You can kind of, consider her a final girl to some degree. It's her trying to kill and run away from these three dudes who are also trying to kill her. And she is so badass, man. She's fierce, she's intense, she's unrelenting, and absolutely willing to do whatever it takes to make sure she survives and that these men fucking die. And the way that the men try to murder her, they push her off a cliff. She falls, gotta at least be 200-300 feet, I would assume. She lands on this broken tree stub, just impaled through the gut. She's like hanging there, bleeding out, She would be dead. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not really complaining though either, because I know a lot of people have been complaining about this, or that is like their one main complaint with this movie, is that it's just unrealistic and none of this would ever really happen. Yeah, sure. But it's a fucking movie. And if it wasn't so fucking cool, the rest of it, with such great filmmaking on display, then yeah, I would definitely probably agree with a lot of the complaints about this movie. But I don't fucking care. This movie is so awesome. It's exhilarating and it takes you on such a wild ride that I think it is absolutely worth it to just kind of turn your mind off, for those certain parts. Just shut your brain off and then just enjoy what this filmmaker has put on the screen for you. From the very first shot, it's a wide shot of the desert canyon that most of the movie takes place in. And we're posted there for a while. And then we slowly start to zoom out. And it becomes the reflection of Richard's glasses in the helicopter that's making their way to his little remote house. It almost looks like it was filmed in like the late 2000s, where everything is just, it's widescreen, it's super saturated. There's a lot of oranges, a lot of reds. It's just so cinematic, and it immediately catches your eye from the jump. And the rest of the movie also just does have fantastic cinematography. The fact that this is her directorial debut is just shocking to me. She really knows the craft and knows exactly what she's doing. It's on full display. And along with all the oversaturation that this movie has in it for most of it, they also use a lot of different color palettes to kind of offset all those oranges and those reds. Like, for example, the windows to his house leading to his backyard. One of them is pink and one of them is blue, like almost like neon blue and pink. And they have specific shots, where she's where she's walking from the bedroom to the kitchen and you're following these windows and you see the blue and the pink. And then there's people standing behind these windows specifically, and the camera's just right on those colored windows, and it just looks so cool on the screen. It pops off and immediately catches your eye once again. And man, let me tell you, this movie is surprisingly brutal. It's gory. A lot of these kills in these scenes, chase sequences, are pretty fucking intense. And, even just Jen herself, after she gets impaled by the tree, she gets herself off. But part of that tree is stuck in her abdomen for the next probably 20 minutes of the movie as she escapes. And she has an opportunity to where, she's safe for now. She has to take it out. Otherwise, she's going to bleed out. And when she takes it out, just slowly pulling it out, it's very, very hard to watch. And I'm also pretty sure most of the blood and gore in this movie is practical because it looks pretty real. Like, no CGI was really added. The blood looks real. The flesh looks, how it should be when it's practical. And it's very, very surprising because I was not expecting that in this movie at all. But it's very, very effective. And there's also another great shot in this movie real quick involving a motorcycle being driven through the desert at night. And the camera is just right there, basically sitting probably a foot away from this motorcycle. They're just cruising through the desert going God knows how fast. You just see the person, the helmet, the headlight of the motorcycle, and he's just cruising. The wind's passing him. He's going super fast, and it's just so cool. There's amazing music playing in the background, and it's just so riveting. And it's easily my favorite shot of the whole entire movie. It was basically sucking me in, hypnotizing me to how amazing, cool, and once again, cinematic this whole movie is. And certain shit like that in movies, man, not only just amazes me, like I said, but it pumps me the fuck up. Shots and filmmaking like that is just why I love movies so goddamn much. And the use of this desert canyon that pretty much most of the movie takes place in is used almost perfectly. It's just a big, vast area of pretty much nothing but dirt and mountains. And, there's a lot of wide shots that just exemplify that of the brown desert. And then you see the blue sky, and it's just those two colors contrasted. There's a scene where she's chasing one of the guys up this there's a winding road up a mountain. There's no railing on the side, so it's pretty fucking scary. And she's chasing him. She's got a sniper. He's driving his Range Rover, and it's just this long chase. She's sniping him. He's trying to escape. It's just all used so well. And Richard does a great job as well in this movie, played by Kevin Janssens. At first, Jen is his mistress. They're having a good time. They're having an affair. He seems like a pretty good guy because once he finds out what happens, he seems to really care. And, he doesn't really seem to be like the other two. Then once she tries to escape and pretty much threaten him and them, he flips a switch and he turns into worse than those other two, essentially, because he tries to murder her for one by pushing her off a cliff. And then the whole rest of the movie, he's just so determined and willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that she fucking dies for sure. And the whole movie is pretty intense. I would say it's a wild ride, but the last scene when it's just down to Jen and Richard, they make it back to his house. It's the complete opposite of the whole rest of the movie where, like I said, it's just a vast canyon, lots of fucking empty space where they're chasing each other. It's very hard to find one another, but you also don't know where they're at. This last scene is them two in his house in a very confined space, chasing each other with guns. And the best scene is when they're just following each other around this hallway in his house. Like, he has his living room, then a hallway leads to one bedroom, a bathroom, and it's like one big square almost leading back to the living room. And they're just chasing each other, just going round and round. She cuts back this way, he also does. It's just so intense to watch, on the edge of your seat, and it's honestly peak filmmaking. Now, with having seen The Substance and Revenge now, Coralie Fargeat's two movies, she clearly has a lot to say about women nowadays and what they have to go through in society and how they're treated. And this movie came out in 2018, which, as we all know, was the year of the Me Too movement. And that definitely inspired this movie, without question. But I will say I do like how she's not really beating us over the head with this idea and this concept of how she feels and how women are treated by men. She's taking that concept and she's making an absolute badass film out of it. And she's not trying to make us feel bad for women or for Jen, the main character, you know. Like, Jen basically turns into Rambo halfway through this movie, and it's so awesome. She's taking this revenge subgenre, making it with her story, making it brutal, bloody, and gory, while at the same time really putting her voice into it and absolutely having something to say. But I will say, her next movie, I will definitely, without a doubt, see. But I just want to also see one redeemable male character. I want to see one male character in the next movie that's not a fucking asshole, douchebag, complete piece of shit. Because in both movies that she's made, every dude is just insufferable and just awful. So I just want to see one male character who's not like the rest of them. So yeah, overall, guys, I fucking love this movie. I thought it was great. I think it's definitely worth watching immediately. I don't think it's streaming anywhere. It might be streaming on Shudder. You'll have to double check me on that. But even if not, it's probably available on Prime Video, $4 or $5. Rent it. Will not regret it. And this is also produced by Neon and Shudder, both production companies who back in 2018 were, I would assume, just pretty much coming up at that time. They weren't really as well known as they are now, especially after this year with all the Neon movies, Lawn Lades, Anora, plenty more, Shudder, In a Violent Nature, Late Night with the Devil. All these movies, they are making a name for themselves very fast, and I think they should keep doing exactly what they're doing. So I would give this movie a solid 8.5 out of 10. But yeah, those are just my thoughts, guys. I appreciate you watching once again. My name is Zach. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you want. I know this movie came out 6 years ago, but if you have seen it, let me know what you think. And as always, I will see you on the next one.